Welcome to the Personal Development Mastery Podcast, episode 54. Today I'm going to do a different episode than the normal that I have, so there is no interview. Instead, in this episode I will share a little bit of my personal story and some lessons that I've learned about confidence. So the reason why I'm doing an episode like this is that, as I have said before, I would like to have some variety. I know that the podcast is mainly about interviewing inspiring people that can help growth in each of us. But from time to time I will be doing an episode like this because I want to share who I am, and that's honestly me being authentic, and I am going to be authentic and vulnerable with you by sharing elements of my story and learnings. And of course, again, it is a matter also of variety and having something different as well with the podcast. So what I will start with, I usually ask my guests to give me a key defining moment in their personal development journey. So I'm going to give one of my own key defining moments, the one that I think had the biggest impact in terms of my confidence. And that is when I first went to Tony Robbins' event, UPW, Unleash the Power Within, in 2017 in London. During that time and on the third day of the event, I had a big realization that changed very much my behavior, my thoughts and my actions afterwards, and therefore my journey or my trajectory of life. You see, all my life until that moment, I was a very introvert person. I was very reserved when I would meet and speak with people. Things like networking events would be a complete nightmare for me because I was very uncomfortable meeting with new people and speaking with them and expressing myself. And I always thought that that's who I am. At that event, on the third day of the event, Tony Robbins takes the participants through a technique called the Dickens process, which I've written about in the blog, and I will link it in the show notes if you want to go into detail about what it is. The only thing that I will say is that on that day I realized a crippling, limiting belief that I had all my life that was really holding me back. And I realized that the reason why I was behaving in such an introvert way was because of the limiting belief that was always playing at the back of my head, telling me that people are not interested in what I have to say. So this kind of constant background in my internal dialogue certainly was holding me back from expressing myself to people. And at that event, I realized very much that it was a limiting belief, that it was a behavior that I had rather than something that I was born with. So immediately, once I realized it, I took steps to correct it and break free from it. And that's when my journey in terms of personal development took a very big turn, and it started accelerating very much, because afterwards I enrolled to a public speaking course, and one thing led to another, and from an introvert person that would pretend to be busy on his phone in order to avoid speaking with people he didn't know. So from that, I turned very quickly into, doing public speeches, starting a podcast, and now a second podcast. In many ways, something that my confidence allowed me to do. So I think this is one of the most representative stories about myself, really, and how the trajectory of my life completely changed when I had that experience. And the realization, of course, of how much our limiting beliefs hold us back, how much we take our limiting beliefs as the truth and we don't question them, and we live our life or we behave in a way which is according to these beliefs which we hold as truth, but they are not. They are actually lies or false that we have imposed upon ourselves. So, as a result of this change in the way I was thinking, the way I was behaving, the way I was acting, and of course the results I was bringing in my life, as a result of that, my confidence changed and improved. And before that time, I never really considered myself a confident person. After that time, my confidence has increased, and I wanted actually to share some of my thoughts about confidence, because I believe out of all the traits that someone could have, it's probably the most desirable one. People would like to have more self-confidence. And that is very much understandable. Confidence is the belief we have in ourselves, how much we trust ourselves. The thing with confidence is that many people believe that it is something that you either have or you don't have. Even some people believe that it's something you are born with or you're not born with, but it's nothing of that sort. Confidence is a skill. It can be cultivated, it can be practiced, it can be improved. It's not a matter of I have it or I don't have it. I can always grow and improve my confidence. So one thing to talk about in terms of confidence is that it starts with the belief. As Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you can't, either way you're right. So the belief that we are confident or the belief that we are not confident starts immediately shaping our level of confidence. Another thing that is very characteristic about lack of confidence is the indecisiveness. Because when we are confident, when we believe in ourselves, when we trust ourselves, then it's easy to take a decision because it doesn't really matter. The important thing is that we make a decision trusting that we are doing the best we can with our abilities, and it is a sign of confidence. One other thing that confidence brings is decisiveness, assertiveness. You know, when you trust yourself that you will do the best you can, then it's easy to be decisive. You trust the process. That is a sign of confidence. Another sign of confidence is when you take your action and do what you want to do or say what you want to say without concerning yourself about the judgment of other people. This is so important. I think it's one of the core elements of having confidence is how much do you care what other people think of you. As Anthony Hopkins said, it is none of my business what other people think of me. And that saves me so much trouble. And if you think about it, it's so right, isn't it? We do so many things, or we don't do many things, because we don't want to displease people. And that robs us of our confidence. One other thing that is very important to understand about confidence is that it is a process. It is not something that you switch it on and one moment you don't have and then the next moment you have. Dan Sullivan talks about the 4 C's of growth. So it is commitment, courage, capability, confidence. So the first step to gain confidence is actually to commit that you're going to take the action that you deem will you lack confidence or you want to improve your confidence on. But once you make the commitment to take that action, immediately, because this takes you out of your comfort zone, you encounter fear. And the way to overcome this fear is by showing courage. Courage is taking action in spite of fear. That's the only time where you have courage is when there is fear involved. Otherwise, there is no need for courage. So the commitment leads to courage. Once we have the courage to take the action, then we need to find the capability. And by taking action and taking actions, we acquire the capabilities. And once we have the capabilities and we grow in our capabilities, that leads to the confidence that we can do this action. It is like a loop. So it starts from the commitment, then you go against your fear by being courageous, you gain the capability, and then you are confident. And then that newly grown confidence allows you to make another commitment and go on and go on. It is a circle or a spiral. And you can either spiral it upwards and keep increasing your confidence, or you can keep on going downwards by avoiding the uncomfortable action, avoiding getting out of your comfort zone. All that leads to loss of confidence. And I'm going to share a few very simple techniques that are very useful in increasing one's confidence. The first one is, I mentioned it already, is getting out of the comfort zone. So whatever it is that you have hesitancy inside of you, so you want to do it, but you are hesitant and you are afraid of doing it, that is because this action takes you out of your comfort zone. So go ahead and do it. That is the courage, and that will instantly grow your confidence. Remember any time in the past that you took action while you were afraid. How did you feel afterwards? I think you understand how your confidence grows. Another very good way of increasing our confidence is utilizing that belief that we are confident. And by using visualization, we can visualize what it is that we want, what is our desired outcome out of a situation. And once we know what our desired outcome is, we visualize it, we imagine it, that it has happened, and that really increases our confidence level, because our belief, the more belief we have, the more into our potential we tap into. One more very important and very practical also way of increasing our self-confidence is by our physiology, the way we move our body, our stance, our body language. So something as simple as taking a power stance, for example, like, stretching your arms out wide and looking up at the sky or the ceiling with a big grin on your face. Do that right now. Just spread your arms very wide. Stand up if you're sitting down. Spread your arms wide. Look up towards the ceiling or the sky. Obviously, don't do any of that if you're driving. And put a big grin on your face. And see how this simple change in the physiology changes our confidence. Because it changes our state, our emotional state. We feel stronger when we do that. One more thing to be very careful with if we want to grow our confidence is to pay close attention to the language that we use, especially to the language we use towards ourselves. So words like I can't, or never, or some words that imply some perpetual negativity or some impossibility. These are the words that we have to be very vigilant to catch ourselves when we use them and correct them. And I will just mention one last, let's say, method or tip to improve the confidence. As you can imagine, these are just the tip of the iceberg. There is so many techniques and so much to talk about confidence, but I just wanted to give a brief overview of my thoughts based on my years of learning and personal development. So one last technique that I will mention is what we call act as if. So let's say, for example, you have to go into a room full of people that you don't know. So how would a confident person act? Think of that and act as if. So when you walk into that room, remember that the other people don't know whether you're confident or not. They can't read your thoughts, but what they can see is how you carry yourself. And if you walk into a room with your head pointing downwards and your shoulders forward, then that really shows lack of confidence. Whereas if you walk into the room, and it brings me back to the physiology that I was talking about earlier. So our body language, the way we carry our bodies, is confidence. It gives us confidence and it exudes confidence as well. So keep that in mind always, especially when you catch yourself feeling unconfident. Look at the posture of your body and you will see that it is a non-confident body language that you have at that time. So change it. So in any case, these were some of my thoughts about self-confidence, which, as I said, it is one of the most, if not the most important trait for having. And this is something that I can help you with. So if you would like to have more confidence, contact me and I will be glad to help you. So I'll just wrap up this episode. You know how I do the quick fire questions in the end. So I thought of asking myself a couple of the quick fire questions as well, which is a fun thing to do. So the first question I always ask is, what does personal development mean to you? And for me, personal development is to realize our potential. It is the journey, our life's journey, to finding the truth about who we are and why we're here as well. And if I could go back in time and meet my 18-year-old self, what I would tell him is to believe in himself, that he is unique and he has a purpose in life. And I would tell him to be true to himself, to follow and do what he is passionate about without letting other people's voices and judgments stop him. I would tell him to live his life purposefully, to create an extraordinary life, and to stand out, not fit in. So I hope you found this solo episode of me talking about confidence and some elements of my life. I hope you found that interesting and useful. So one of the best ways to contact me and find out more about me is to join my Facebook group, which is called Personal Development Mastery. It's in the show notes. Feel free to reach out and ask me if you think I can help you with your personal development. Reach out, join the Facebook group, or email me at agi@agikeramidas.com. If you would like to gain access to exclusive content of the podcast and some additional episodes, Ask Me Anything episodes, then I invite you to join my patrons group. I will put a link to that on the show notes as well. And finally, a favor to ask of you: if you have enjoyed or if you've been enjoying the podcast, please drop me a 5-star review, subscribe and rate the podcast. It means a lot to me because this way the podcast reaches more people who can benefit from it. So thank you very much for listening, and I will see you on the next episode. Until next time, stand out, don't fit in.